It's good to be back here this Friday morning on Ogun State Television. I am Simia Tabaru and this is Reporters Lounge. We do this every Friday, and yes, today is going to be very, very interesting. I have a guest in the house, a veteran in the industry, and of course he's a familiar face on this program. Maybe it's quite a while that we all have our own the seat here, but notwithstanding, he decided to join us this morning. We invited him, and he is here. Biodun Ogundipe, thank you so much for joining us.
Good morning. It's good to be back on the show after a long while.
Long while.
Yeah.
The last time we had this conversation, the conversation here was via Zoom. I remember.
Zoom. Yes.
And of course, it was definitely about the happenings in the country. This morning, we'll be looking at critical issues in the course of the week. It's going to be very interesting. I told you earlier, it's going to be very, very interesting because this week is really looking like one of the weeks that you would have in the year 2025, and you'll be like back-to-back, stuffs coming on social media and of course happening in Nigeria. I will be starting with this very story. Temipere Silva declared wanted. Yes, you get to know the details of that person when we start the program. And of course, Wike Yerima face-off is also what we'll be looking at. What has happened? Why do we have such altercation? Nigerians are talking. Some are supporting what happened, and of course, some are supporting the naval officer, while some are actually supporting the Minister of FCT, Nyesom Wike, who happens to be the former governor of Rivers State. We'll be looking at the federal government cancelling mother tongue policy, declares English sole language of instruction. What really is happening to the education sector? How will this policy impact Nigerian students now? And you have Nigeria for Gabon, and of course Eagles soar into World Cup playoffs final. Yes, Nigeria did it again, and some are saying, why are we so happy about what happened? They ought to, this energy was supposed to be energy that should have started. Right now we should be resting. While some are saying that, well, I think this is more like having friendlies. It prepares them ahead of the World Cup proper. So thank you so much for joining us, Biodun, on the program. The Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, EFCC, has actually declared the former Minister of State, Petroleum Resources, and former Governor of Bayelsa State, Temipere Silva, wanted over an alleged conversion of public funds. And yes, you have this in tune of billions of dollars. And Nigerians, before now, there were rumors, you have it that, the former Bayelsa State Governor happens to, they were relating him, associating the coup plot with this man, and they said he fled the country. We do not know to what extent this is, but just this week we heard in the news that he has been declared wanted. I don't know, when you saw the news, which of it was really ringing bell? Is it the coup plot attempt, saying that he was the one behind it, sponsoring the coup plotters, or maybe it's about the public fund that came to mind at that time?
Of course, naturally for an average, well-informed Nigerians, and particularly we journalists, reporters, what will first come to mind is the issue of the coup plot, because his name has been reoccurring, ringing constantly concerning the alleged coup plots. Yes, the federal government has denied anything about the coup plots.
Yes. Alleged coup plots,
yes. And we're saying it was a disciplinary issue with the military officers, and they have been arrested, detained all this while. But then the nature of the disciplinary actions is not so clear to anybody. They have not really given us full information. These are the disciplinary issues these guys had, and this is why we are locking them up. And that rumor keeps coming and coming. And like they say, there is no smoke without fire. So that suspicion about coup plots is still there, not going away, despite the denial by the federal government, because naturally such an issue the largest African country, democracy of 25 years, nobody wants to go back to the days of military rule or coup plotting, overthrowing governments, and so it's a strong suspicion that the government will actually want to deny, and nobody has been really clear about it. But then, from grapevine and unofficial sources, it looks more like a coup. It sounds more like a coup, but then government has denied it, but we don't have any proof. And of course, his name has been linked with it. We have not seen him in public. He's not been in the country. The reports that he has fled, and all these uninformed sources, are really coming together to look like real, but we cannot really prove it. And just a few weeks after he was declared wanted by the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission for diversion of over $14 million meant for refinery building, local content, something. And of course, and you look at it.
I read billions or
billions, okay,
millions. I don't know. So maybe what I read wasn't really correct, notwithstanding.
So yeah, but then it is even in dollars, not in naira this time around. And and you look at it, when you look at the history of the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, you'd see people believe that it's the leech of the people in power to punish somebody in a position or who has offended the government. And you look at the pattern of high-profile politicians that have been arrested, prosecuted, found guilty, it fits the pattern. And somebody whose name has been linked with a coup plot, few weeks after he's been declared wanted. And you look at the petroleum industry run by governments in NNPC and all the gamut that are associated, connected with it, we all know it's a cesspit of corruption. A lot of, even right now, the National Assembly is probing trillions of naira that are not remitted, NNPC and other associated, organs.
But of course, we, EFCC declaring him wanted, some have said that, okay, something must. Of course, they didn't tell us about the coup, so they can't tell us that the reason he was arrested was because he was
involved in alleged,
the alleged coup. So it's just natural for them not to come and tell us it's about the coup, because they actually denied a coup happening.
Yes.
But of course, some have said that it is the moment they've accused, subsequent government, when you are in power, especially the APC government, that it is only when you have problem with them that they start looking for whatever to draft you into that, that book, that blacklist or sort of. So now, before the coup plot, we didn't hear about the fraud committed by this man, the former Bayelsa governor. And of course, you would immediately look at it. Is it politics? Is it really about national security? Is it about actually misappropriation? Or exactly what it is?
Yes, that's what the point I'm trying to go to, because the suspicion will come up naturally. When governments names a high-profile politician and accuse that person, through the FCC, you have your suspicion. The red light flicks on and say maybe it's a political issue, and they're trying to settle score through the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission. Because if you look at the pattern, it's been reoccurring. High-profile politicians who are on the opposing side to the government in power, either party, either APC, either PDP, it's been, or even within the party who have, transgressed, to those in government. The tool of dealing with them most times is the EFCC, and of course, this also looks very similar to it, and that suspicion, it's difficult to drive it away. The EFCC has said he had wanted for billions, dollars,
Okay, I think I'm reading $14
million.
That's
almost 50 million, $14.85 million. So that's almost $50 million. So, and that suspicion you can't throw it away if you look at the pattern of the operation of the EFCC with high-profile politicians and what has been happening over the years. And of course, and you've seen high-profile politicians who have been accused, and then when they cross carpets to the
political,
to the ruling party, we don't hear anything about their corruption cases.
Now he is an APC.
Yes, it happens even within the party. Like the first one of the first high-profile cases in the early days of the EFCC, the former governor of Bayelsa State, he was a member of the PDP, but then the belief is that he transgressed against the powers that be, and of course they had to punish him, though he's a member of the party. But then if you have offended those in power, despite even you're in the ruling party, the hammer will still fall on you. It still fall on you. But then because even in ruling parties there are camps. If you are in the opposing camp to those in power,
then you also get
you are also likely to be hit by the hammer. So I think this is...
So declaring him wanted, what does that suggest? What's the implication? It means that people should turn him in wherever.
Yeah, of course. His name has been sent to Interpol and it's on the red flag. So police worldwide who are in the Interpol, cooperation will be looking for him. So anywhere he's seen all over the world where the police authorities are part of Interpol, they have the right, the authority to arrest him and transfer him to Nigeria.
So it means it's not in Nigeria presently?
So yes, it's not, that means they have tried their best. They've seen that it's not in Nigeria. They believe he's outside the country. They are reported to Interpol.
So that's why the process of declaring him wanted.
So let's help us look for him. If you see him, arrest him and send him back home to face charges. But then, as I said, the suspicion that, we're in opposition to those in power, the FCC is... and of course, in Nigeria, it is very difficult for anybody who has passed through any political office to be 100% clean.
That's for people willing and interested in becoming
politicians, office holders. Yeah. So it is almost impossible. Even if it's not committed by you, those around you, when something passes through your table, you append your signature, or you are in the know of it, you are culpable in one way or the other. So it is easy to hang anything on any political office holder for any crime and said, okay, you have committed this. So that's the nature of our country. Unless these facts are stated clearly and it is clear to us that, oh, this man has done this or done that, incontrovertible facts, then you can say, okay, it's not related to the alleged coup plot that we're hearing rumors behind the scene. Okay,
very quickly, something dramatic, also happened. Very dramatic now in the course of the week, and of course, Nigerians are talking, like I said earlier, Wike Yerima face-off. We've heard different versions of what actually happened. The Minister of FCT, Nyesom Wike, also came out for a press press conference, we call it now?
Press briefing or something.
Briefing, yes, about what happened. He said a lot of things. But before that press briefing, Nigerians have taken sides. And of course, some said, oh, they are both in the same group. They call them the elite group. And of course, the elite group, like my professor would say that they are now fragmented, sort of. They're fighting themselves, not really about the people, but they said about their own interests. I don't know whether that's really about what happened, but you could see the confrontation. And some would say that, oh, you train the military with a lot of stuff to stand up to bullies and to stand up to protect the nation. And of course, the display of that should not be shocking to you, because at that time, what that officer, Yerima, actually saw was the FCT minister trying to do something contrary to the order he has been given. So these are complex issues. From the position of the law, they said the FCT is more superior than anybody that might have sent, some talked about the military-civilian relationship in a democracy. So different angles to this conversation. But of course, some words were used that were really condemned by almost Nigerians, all Nigerians, even those in support of the FCT minister, condemned such use of words, to address a man in uniform, whether he is right or wrong. So we have those camps. I don't know what you think when you saw the video. Different versions now.
Yeah, different versions, different opinions about that issue. But then it's a very interesting one because if you look at the military or even any security agencies, there's a chain of command. And of course, it goes from top to bottom. And if you're not that chain of command, no matter, even if you're at the lowest level, somebody not within that chain of command cannot give you a contrary command and you obey it. And you await, instructions from superior authorities. And that is what that officer Yerima displayed there. And of course, while many people are commending him, giving kudos is that he did it in a respectful and professional manner. He has been given an instruction by his superior officers and is to carry it out. The minister of the FCC, even though yes, rightfully the FCC is in charge of the FC of Abuja, of all the land and everything, the minister cannot give him a command and he obeys. Because if he goes back and gets to his office and said, who gave you that command? Is the minister in the chain of command? No. Yeah, people are saying he's in charge, he's the landlord of Abuja, of everything. Yes, he is. But then this is a controversial issue. And for me, the minister should not have gone there, personally to confront him. Yes, your officers have gone there, they've given you reports. There are different channels by which you can escalate it, channel your grievances and go. You can go to its higher authorities and then speak to them. You can go to the Minister of Defense, you can go to the NSA.
You also saw what happened. We were told, and we saw a conversation with the minister, him calling the Chief of Defense Staff at that instance. Of course, they passed the phone to the officer in charge, and yes, he was able to, he wasn't able to actually instruct the guy to leave the venue, which of course would mean that, and he said he was going to investigate and get back to the minister. So it means that was something, some said it's an unnecessary show at that instant. The FCT minister ought not to be there, and they said they went with bulldozers, and they put to question a lot of things. Is bulldozing, is it part of what we should be doing in this? Because of course, according to the law, they said when you check the different laws in each state, and of course maybe the FCT as well, they give them the power to demolish structures that are not well. And I look at it from the point of view of a nation that is progressing. Now we condemn the secondary school children that, students, when there is violence in school, they try to destroy properties. That's not a way of making it register in that you can destroy things.
Yes, yes, I agree with you on that point, because it didn't start today. It started maybe in the 70s during the military era, when government does not agree with something, they tend to destroy. I remember a song by late fella and said that government is wasteful. When you seize product, this and that, and then you go and burn them, you destroy them. So that thing registers in the mindset, in the of the young ones. This thing doesn't align with us. We don't like it, then we destroy. This, we don't like this. It's not right. We destroy. And for me, there are better ways you can approach all these things. Some suggest go and keep them, give them to the less privileged. And of course, when maybe somebody has built wrongly already, you can look for other other solutions. Maybe when you seize the property, you can sell it or remodel it or turn it into something else rather than destroying it. And I think, as you said, when your professor said that it's a fight between the elites. And for me, most times everybody's trying to grab Commonwealth of Nigeria, and everybody's using his or her powers to corner what they can get. So it's not about the common people. How many common man can buy land in Abuja? So if that land should have been very expensive for the person who believes he's the owner, maybe a top military officer, to send his boys to go and get that land. And for the minister to start out from his office with an entourage of press, security, bulldozers to demolish them. So it's a fight between the elites for the commonwealth of the people. And of course, for me, why I blame the minister, yes, he's in charge, but why I blame the minister is that his approach for me is wrong. You are an administrative officer. You don't need, yes, you can go to the field for supervision, inspection, this and that, but then your officers have been there, they've been stopped, they've not been there. If you can even go there to go and see and interview the guy, but you can't command him or harass him or assault him, because he assaulted the guy verbally. And then it's not at that point you'll be calling the Chief of Defense Staff. The Chief of Defense Staff, that's in the office. The Chief of Defense Staff will now investigate. How many officers will the Chief of Defense Staff will know one-on-one and say, okay, one officer, you're now.
Some are saying that the officer, should be punished for what he did, while some are saying, no, he doesn't need to be punished. And of course, you've seen why I was also in support of the fight of the elites now. They are fragmented, sort of. Is because you could see the reactions from the army. Immediately the former Chief of Army Staff, Buratai, came up with, statements. You see the immediate past, not the immediate past now, the one that went before this, Lucky Rabo, also came up with a statement trying to defend their own, saying that, okay, this man has actually said, I even though if you look at the video, you would I was impressed at some point when I don't know whether I should say I was impressed, because at the end of the day, these things are subjected to the laws of the land. Talking about the military and of course what they do when they were in power. And of course some said, oh, they are so powerful, they have cabals in their midst as well. And of course they've linked a lot of things to some of them who are the big men in the military as well. So you see the dynamics of the conversation. The president has a role to play in all of this, yes. Whether the general, the naval officer, continues to hold on to that property or not. You also saw their reaction when they said the investigation should commence. They said they don't want investigation. So you have all kinds of issues. That we have, the current administration has inherited, and dealing with it. What do you think the president should do? Especially when you see the FCT minister, also a cabinet minister, carrying out instructions from the president.
Yes, it's a cabinet minister, but he can't instruct a military officer. The military is under only the president, not even the vice president or any other person, unless the president is not on seat and transferred power to the vice president. Then the vice president can now exercise that power to command the military.
That's how powerful they are.
The president appointed the minister. The president also appointed the chief of defense staff. And chief of defense staff is answerable only to the president. And that command cascades down to all other military officers. So when the naval officer Yerima is obeying any command of any superior officer, it is believed that that command comes from the president. Yes, they have their internal control. It's a chain of command that any civilian or anybody not in that structure can intervene or come into. So the minister should not have confronted him to... I remember one also happened in Lagos between the governor and people flashed back to that story,
But the reaction of the current, is even the current Lagos
State governor, and the police officer. And the police officer said, I'm obeying command. I can't leave this place, sir. He said, call you. He said, I cannot call my superior officer. Unless you call and they call me. He said that's because as in the military, in the security, you cannot call your superior officer for command. You wait for command. You await instructions. And when that instructions come, you follow it to the latter. That's how it operates. So, and the Lagos State governor was smart. And he said, okay, don't worry, I will talk to your superior. And he left. He did not confront.
He did not. There was no confront. That was diplomacy needed to...
You should understand. There should be understanding of these things, how this civilian military relationship work. You must have an understanding. And the FCT minister, we know his antecedent as governor of Rivers State, and people have always say he's always overboard in his action. A lot of issues with political rivals.
That of course brings to the fore the conversation about who the FCT minister is. Like you have said, he has an antecedent, and those antecedents were things that Nigerians used to analyze the issues. Not really about the minister or a minister being confronted, who confronted the army, a naval officer rather. So they look at the man in question.
Of course, they look at him.
They didn't look at him as a minister. Really, they looked at, okay, what he has been able to do. They referred to differently. This morning, one of the lawyers that came on Newdon talked about what he did in Rivers State when something similar wanted to happen, I think from federal.
Yes, the EFCC came to Rivers State, to Port Harcourt, to search a judge house and possibly arrest him. And he came with his security details to stop a federal agency.
Exactly.
And stop the FCC from carrying out their lawful duty. And he is now coming to say somebody is stopping him to carry out. So, I didn't even remember that until you mentioned it now. So it's antecedent, as we said, somebody who people believe lost power, too much, and uses power to to a number of degree, excessively. We've seen it as a lot. He has fought with former governors, his predecessors. How he has stopped a sitting minister for having free entry into the states, into the capital. A lot of issues. So for me, there should be a code of conduct, behavior for political office holders, particularly ministers, because yes, they are appointed by the president, and to a large extent.
I am very sure, because when you check the video properly, look at that, look at what is happening. The guy, that's the officer, was just standing, and of course the provocation could have
yes,
come from the altercation.
Yes, he refused to react to the provocation.
Exactly.
He was professional.
Yes,
you know.
Even the minister, I'm sure it was also to a reasonable extent, because by the time he started mentioning that, when were you when I was in so.
He didn't reply.
Do you get? So he was playing that card of, you are my abru, you are my son.
You can't be older than my son, you know.
And so you can't be talking to me like this. So he brought that in, more like a sort of blackmail, to say that, you know, and of course the guy also has a duty to protect the uniform that he was wearing. We don't want to see an army that will be, you just look at them and say that, oh, just a minister talking to you and you're shaking, sort of.
Yeah.
So the way the Nigerian army is also structured in the world, really, because we've been ranked, so many times, the activities of the Nigerian army, you discover that these are the kind of trainings they go through that puts them in positions like this to actually stand up. If they are confronting terrorists, in fact, one of my contribution was that this guy is ready to face any terrorist with the way he was,
confident
in his, his whatever mission he's on. He was confident of the mission and believes that he was right, to a very large extent. So that, of course, maybe is a discussion we should also have about fighting terrorism and the people prepared to do that. Let me add that the Chief of Defense Staff also said when he came in that the police needs to be trained, better trained now. And I'm sure he's talking about the training like they have given the military. You could recall that in that altercation as well, he was addressing a police officer that said, "You're not supposed to be talking. I am your superior." So that speaks volume as to the kind of training they actually give them, and of course that of police as well.
Yes, training is very important, and I think the training reflected in the reaction of the military officer, naval officer Yerima. He was professional. He made people see another side of the military, a dignified military. That you can send anywhere and represent you very well. That's why a lot of commendation came for him, that yes, you have done very well. Yes, he did it respectfully. He did not disrespect the minister, but then he carried out his order to the latter. And and we need that a lot. And I was discussing with some people, my siblings, we are on WhatsApp, we were discussing this issue, and then my brother said he had about 3 friends who are in foreign countries in different places, who are sons of military officers, and they attended military secondary school. And he noticed that this kind of training has been inculcated, has been ingrained in them since those young age. And he said those 6 years in secondary school, military secondary schools, was the most impactful years of their life. That's what they learned at that level.
How they were shaped.
They still carry it with them till today. And I believe we should have that kind of training also for police officers, because at times you see police officers on the road and you see the manner they talk to you, the approach, you are at times disgusted. Why that training should cut across all military, all security agencies in the country. Dignified and respectful manner, where you approach people with confidence, with knowledge, with intelligence. You know your onions. You know what you are saying.
Imagine you correcting the FCT minister. There is nothing like former chief of naval staff. It's retired, but not former. So there's nothing like that.
So those years of training in military secondary schools, he said, was the most impactful years that shaped their lives, and they still carried the trainings, the learnings till today.
So before we leave the conversation, how do we balance power at this stage? You have Yerima coming from the position of being instructed or given order by his superiors, and you also have the FCT minister with the responsibility to deliver the renewed hope agenda of the president. And yes, part of that is also to restructure how Abuja is right now, because part of the discussion was about people getting approval to build something, and they are building something else. And that's also a very valid point, a very valid reason to actually go and fight. Maybe not that way, but of course you should be concerned that people are given approval for something and they are doing something else with it. So how do we strike that balance between that power shift?
I think it boils down to orientation and training of political office holders. I remember, I don't want to mention name, when a certain governor was elected for the first time in this state. And, you know, after appointing some political office holders, they took all of them for like 3-4 days training somewhere within the state. They brought lawyers, journalists, a lot of people who have had experience in government in this democracy before, and say, these are your boundaries. If you do this, you are culpable. If you do this, you are liable. These are what to do. Don't exceed this. Don't do this. Don't do that. So that orientation, when you get into office, you know, there should be code of conduct where it should be properly led. If I've been in, you know, all these advanced countries, you know, the minister will come under a lot of scrutiny and, of course, come for this, because he should not interfere, you know, directly with that officer. He should have been relating with his superiors and get that issue resolved. Yes, if he's right to demolish that, you know, he has something is wrong with that land, he has the right to demolish it because he's in charge. He should not go and directly interface with that with the now officer Yerima. Rather, he should interface with superiors and get that issue resolved at that level. You can call the Minister of Defense, you can call the National the National Security Officer, you know, and discuss and get it resolved at that level. Not getting at the point of, you know, interacting with that boy, with that officer, and calling the Chief of Defense Staff, and then the Chief of Defense Staff cannot give me a direct order at that point because he doesn't know the true picture, what is happening. He has to investigate and find out and say, okay, you don't have the right to be there, leave that place. He cannot do that at that point. You just want him to give a directive. Under what guise? He can't do it like that. So that should be a code of conduct. Training. Yes, he has been Minister of State for Education before. He has been former governor. He has held other political posts. But then a code of conduct and proper training and orientation needs to be given to all political office holders to know their boundaries, to know their rights, to know their obligations, what they need to do, and how to conduct themselves, especially in public. You can just imagine it took a whole lot of press officers there to be meet, and we've seen it all over.
And I don't know whether it is true they said they banned the use of mobile phones when things like that are going to happen, because eventually...
I saw that story, but I don't know, you know, even apart from mobile phones, TV stations were there, cameras were there, and you can just download this, cut it to pieces and spread it all over.
They can instruct those ones to actually bring the cards, and
so
of course...
you can't instruct some stations, you know, private stations were there, and they said, I'm representing my station, I take instructions from my stations.
From my station, that has to do with also another chain of command.
Yes, another chain of command. So,
of course, we would be moving to the next conversation. As you have rightly said, they really need to do a lot. Whether that a lot would do something different from what we're experiencing in our country is another kettle of fish. But notwithstanding, we need to prioritize what we oftentimes will call global standard in whatever we do, which is one of the reasons this particular face-off has been, you know, more like a more controversial issue, has been trending since it happened. We move very quickly to another conversation. This has to do with education. Federal government cancels mother tongue policy, declares English sole language of instruction. The federal government has reversed its 2022 national language policy, which stipulated that the language of instruction from early childhood to primary 6 should be the mother tongue, or the language of the immediate community. Speaking on Wednesday in Abuja, the Minister of Education, Dr. Tunji Alausa, said English will now be the language of instruction in Nigerian schools from primary through tertiary levels. This is straight, sort of, especially when you're talking about the extinction of our languages now. You have the Yoruba, the Igbos, and the likes. This policy, some said it came from the point of view that they're actually not implementing it. Most schools don't do that. They don't have, for instance, the primary schools, you still see them speak this English. And of course, the parents are also of that opinion that my child must speak English. You know, friendly. And then when you start introducing the mother tongue to them, they say, oh, I don't want my child to speak Yoruba. But we've seen people that travel abroad, they are still engaging in the locals here to teach their children via Zoom or maybe WhatsApp or different platforms to teach them the mother tongue, so they don't go into extinction. So is this policy direction, you know, smooth, or a somersault?
I think it's a somersault, no doubt, because and that is one of the bane of development in Nigeria. Policy somersaults a lot of time. You know, at a point it was 6-3-3-4, now 6-9-4. You know, you go back and forth, and for me, we have not settled down to really study our education, our policies, and use data in arriving at our decisions. And science in arriving at our decisions. What we do most times is based on emotions, or what we feel is generally acceptable that people like. Policies, people may not like policies, but then if they are good policies, we need to do them. Let us do them and implement them. The issue of, even all this English language they are asking people to speak, you see some of them speaking bad, poor English. Because I think we have this mentality of anything foreign is what attracts us, what we like. People, instantly they give birth to a child, they want that child from birth to start speaking Queen's English, while they themselves are not even speaking the right English or in their environments. You know, we should sit down and look at it and say, okay, at what stage do we introduce a foreign language? The Germans, Portuguese, French, Japanese, Chinese, Koreans, everybody, they hold their mother tongue very dear. At their education, in their educational institutions, they use their mother tongue to teach them. To teach them. And of course, they also learn, it's a foreign language, you have to learn it. And they are not ashamed that they don't speak English very well, because they are proud of their language.
So that speaks volume about our identity and what we do with it when we compare ourselves to the rest of the world. Following science now, you talked about data and of course science. You know, children were told that they have the capacity to actually speak as much as 8 languages. Like they can do that at the same time. It means that they have that capacity innate.
Yes.
You know, so why do we have a problem with that?
It's because we have not structured our education policy very well. You know, you should know at what age are you introducing a foreign language. The basis should be the mother tongue.
Well, before now, it has always been, I think the education, there's this pamphlet that I'm always reading. It's about education. That's the policy now, the national policy on education. So you have it like we've used to have it, where you say from 1 to 6, the language of instruction will be mother tongue. And yes, from there you can take as a subject English language, start introducing it to the children. And that in a way would shape the thing, because at the end of the day you ask yourself a question, in what language do we think? And you translate from that language to wherever, whether you want to speak French, you want to speak English, or you want to. I studied English, and of course I remember my professor always, I think he did a practical of that. He put children, you know, he told us about a report he did, a research he did at some point, where he put children, maybe 20 of them, and they started with that, like teaching them the mother tongue. And of course they introduced that to that's English language, you know, that's at age 6. And as a language of instruction. The report, I think, is online. I think he shared it with us then. And it was proven that you become more knowledgeable, and you can cope anywhere in the world. So the same system you were able to use to learn that mother tongue speaking can be used. The template can be used to learn every other languages. And they become so deep, rooted in so many, so they have different and multiple sensibilities when they are looking at issues. So why can't we tap into that?
That's why I said we don't arrive at our policy decisions based on data and science.
What can we do now? Now that we, you know, I know that
these researches are there in the open spaces, and you know, our policy formulators in the area of education just need to adopt them. Call those people who have worked on those research on implementing them. Many times we have good policies, but then we have bad implementations. You know, when they said mother tongue, how have you been implementing this mother tongue from age 0 to 6 before introducing? You know, even if you're introducing, you don't expect the child to catch up immediately or in some few months, in some few years. It's gradual. The level at which you're able to learn to age 10 will be different from age 10 to 13, 13 to, you know, you escalate it gradually, take it up, you know, until you get to a point where you are fully proficient in English language, and you can stand your ground anywhere in the world. The Professor Wole Soyinka of this world started with mother tongue, and they are one of the best speakers of English in the world, even better than a lot of native English men today.
And you look at Chinua Achebe as well. When you look at their writings, you're familiar. The whites actually believed in a lot of things were strange to them when you read, because they are directly translating their language, which is the mother tongue now, into English, which made the English so rich. You can see some words ascribed to Nigerians in dictionaries now. You can see that some coinages actually
came from Nigerian
writers and all that. So I recall, you know, having a conversation with my little boy, and every morning I would tell him to stand up and do, each time I say dobale, he knows what it means to dobale. Each time I say, okay, say ekaro. So the first time he wanted to say the ekaro, mommy, I say, where is this one coming from? So at the end of the day, you see that there is a process, and these children actually have the capacity to truly speak multiple languages at that stage. Whatever it is that our government needs to know about this, if you have any information to counter what the government has said, maybe you can put that forward for them to also see reasons why it is important. Not even at the time where we are adopting, speaking mother tongues in houses of assemblies in a particular day. I think Ogun State and Lagos State adopted a Wednesday or thereabout. I can't remember precisely, where they will, you know, speak the mother tongue. And just to keep the language going. And we've read a lot of things about the colonial masters, and of course why, if you want to colonize the people, you want to take away everything they have, just take away their languages. And of course that at this age shouldn't be what we should be looking at. But we look for more interpretations of these policies and see whether the government at this time are right. Maybe they are right at this point. But before we end this program, we won't be ending without talking about Nigeria, the Super Eagles, and of course the playoffs, our qualification to the World Cup. Yes, Biodun is a big sports enthusiast. And of course, I really want to give it to you guys yesterday. Our guys actually surprised us. The game started on a very tension note. Tension, like the whole atmosphere was tensed. And of course, people were really, are we going to win? You know, the usual suspense when you're watching again.
Yes, many, you know, Nigerian football fans believe we shouldn't be in this situation. In that group, we have no rival, maybe South Africa, and South Africa should be second best to us. But surprisingly, you know, South Africa had the better, you know. In fact, we started the qualification slowly, and we are even at danger of not even reaching the playoffs. But then, luckily, you know, things worked in Nigeria's favor, and we finished second to South Africa and we were in the playoff. And then, of course, you know, naturally, normally, we should be getting the better of Gabon very easily. Yes, they have some good strikers, but then the history and pedigree of Nigeria in African football, it should be easy for us to take Gabon to the cleaners. But then, and we started the match, you know, tension was there because even the players refused to train for 2 days because of, you know, disputes over allowances and everything. And of course, the last minute was resolved. They trained Wednesday evening, and of course, they came into the match yesterday. And things were not clicking, were not working. You know, we didn't score an early goal. We scored in the second half. Then towards the end of the match, we thought we were winning a 1-0. Gabon equalized. And we said, oh, extra time.
And of course, the atmosphere changed.
Yes, changed. You know,
like,
people were losing confidence. Are we going to penalties? Penalties is anybody's game.
Exactly.
So it's a lottery, and of course, it's not. You are not sure of anything.
Exactly.
And we went to extra time. It was still a bit tense. Then extra time, I think the experience of our boys and the quality of our boys now started showing. The goal started coming in. You know, Ejuke scored the second goal. Osimhen, our top striker, one of the best strikers in the world right now, added 2 goals, and of course, it gave us that confidence. Okay, yes, we are home and dry. There is still a final of the playoffs played against DR Congo that defeated Cameroon 1-0 also yesterday. And then after, if we win, which I believe we are going to win against DR Congo, we go to the intercontinental playoffs because there are other countries also playing playoffs on their continent.
It is a long journey for them.
Yeah, it's a long journey. That is why the tension is, because we believe that with our quality and players we have in our team, we shouldn't be in the playoffs. We should have qualified automatically from our group, you know, and because most of the qualifiers in Africa, all the qualifiers in Africa are now confident, yes, I'm going to the World Cup. Now preparing for the Nations Cup in December and World Cup next year. But we are yet to qualify. We are preparing for the World Cup. So those are the challenges.
This is all part of the preparation, because at the end of the day, you have to be playing. And
yes,
some people said, you know, this will of course give a better bond, make our players become better because at the end of the day,
yes, they are doing it in a tense atmosphere. You know, it's not that we know our teams, we are putting our strategies together. You know, we are preparing. We know okay, these are the likely opponents. We know if you play a South American team, this is how you play. If you play an European team, this is how you play. If you play an Asian team, you know, we are not doing that. We are still struggling to qualify. Our mind is not, we are not in the World Cup already. Our mind is not there. Those who have their mind are there, they are looking at their players. Who are their players? Who are my players that are doing well?
Exactly.
That I invite to camp. So when I invite them to camp, what systems am I playing? So they are steps ahead of us. We are still struggling to qualify. It's when we now qualify, we now go to that stage where they are presently.
So how many more matches do we have to play?
We have a match on Sunday.
Okay.
If we have that match, we go for the Intercontinental playoff, and then because we are the top-ranked team, we just play only, maybe, I think, a match, because other teams that qualify for Intercontinental playoffs, we play against themselves, and then some will drop out. The winners will now come to the final and play against Nigeria.
That's more like having another World Cup
entirely. A mini tournament. So it's still some steps ahead. We still need to play DR Congo on Sunday, win that one, qualify for the Intercontinental, and await winners from other continents to play. So
with 4-1 now, because I know that was one of the things that qualified us to this to play these playoffs.
Yes.
Because when we played with the Benin Republic, it was more like if we had 1-1 or it was a draw.
Yes, we wouldn't, because it was a goal difference that brought us.
The goal difference. Yes. It came to 4. So what's the importance? What's the effect? What would this do?
It will give us
in the playoffs?
Yeah, it will give us a lot of confidence against DR Congo, who defeated Cameroon yesterday, because when you score,
sure. I think Cameroon was saying that Cameroon was
Cameroon and DR Congo. Cameroon. Based on pedigree, Cameroon stronger, but presently it's not a very strong Cameroon, and they have a number of injured players. And DR Congo is in form right now. They are playing very far. We are discussing that for Nigeria, DR Congo will be a tougher opponent because the form they are right now, they are playing well. Cameroon is not really doing too well. You know, the experience is not really there for the present team of Cameroon. So, and the approach of DR Congo is very physical. You know, that will be a tougher challenge for the Super Eagles. So, but then we have won 4-1 against Benin Republic. We won 4-0, you know, 8 goals in 2 matches. Okay. That will create fear for your opponents and give you a lot of confidence. They know that we can score. So they will not be able to come out too much against us. So when they are defending, it gives us the opportunity to pile the pressure and get a goal. So they will have that fear factor. For Nigeria will be for the opponents. So 4-1, 4-0 earlier, you know, so it gives us a lot of confidence and shows that we can really do it. You know, fear factor for the opponents will be there against Super Eagles, that these guys are scoring well. And of course, Osimhen leading the fourth line, is scoring his club, you know, in Galatasaray in Turkey, scoring almost every week. He's scoring for Nigeria, a brace in this match, in the earlier match, also a brace, you know, 2 goals. So he's just in the form of Sullivan, of course. That creates fear for the opponents, and you know they can't really come out full. If it had been a 1-0 win, you know they would say, "Oh, Nigeria cannot score too much goal."
Exactly.
But then they saw it seemed that it's winning 4-1. They got that fear, so it helps us a lot.
Okay. Moving forward, you talked about why they were on strike a few days ago before the match. And of course, it's really important that we are going with the full encouragement to ensure that they are very stable. When they play any country. So what more do you think the NFF would do or should do at this stage to ensure that they are in better shapes when it comes to facing whichever opponent?
Okay, I think the NFF should ensure they pay the allowances on time and not making empty promises, because they have been owed a number of allowances, and these guys, they are human beings. This is the job they do. They get paid. In a few years, many of them, their career will be over and they'll live ordinary life. So they want to make the most they can make right now, maybe put investment or do something. But then if it has been agreed they should be paid, let us pay them on time and not make empty promises. They also have informations. They know how much, maybe perhaps how much the NFF is making, how the officials are taking care of themselves, doing this, spending money for this, spending for that. But then we are leaving our clubs. If they come here and get injured, you know, that they'll be on the bench in their clubs. Other players might take their position, and even if they recover from that injury, they might not displace that player, and so that will affect their career. So if we have agreed that this is how much we are paying them, let us pay them. The NFF is to manage them. They look for the funds, source for the funds, make money, pay these guys, and not because they are thinking that, okay, even if we qualify or maybe we don't qualify, are we going to be paid what we have been owed? They are human beings. So if you have made a promise and agreement, pay them, encourage them, motivate them. This Cameroon we beat and DR Congo, their countries are promising them almost $1 million for each players. And this, what are we talking about? Our players are talking maybe about $10,000 or $15,000. So let us make their warfare a priority.
Okay, that's very good. And of course, I remember that when we were playing the group stage, when we didn't really qualify as expected, Nigerians started carrying their phones and calculators. I know that by one way possible, we are going to get into the World Cup. So I was that optimistic when it happened, and I wasn't surprised that we could pass the playoff stage. We are passing through the playoff stage. And of course, we got qualified to play the playoffs. And of course, we are actually going to get into the World Cup by this special grace of God.
Yes, by the special grace of God.
Because at this stage, I cannot just imagine a World Cup without Nigeria.
Yes.
It has happened.
Last World Cup in Qatar, Nigeria was not there. It was
all the moments.
Yes, it was like it was a dry World Cup for Nigerians. We were just watching on TV.
Supporting other African countries.
Yes.
But of course, the program would continue next week, same time, same station. I want to appreciate you, Biodun Ogundipe, for being my guest on today's discussion.
It's a pleasure.
It's always a pleasure having you here, discussing and, of course, sharing your insights. We really appreciate you.
It's a pleasure. Thanks for inviting me.
And thank you for watching Reporters Lounge on Ogun State Television. Next week will be another time on the program. Keep watching The People's Daily, and bye for now.